If you're going to be successful in creating the life of your dreams, you have to believe that you're capable of making it happen. Now, whether you call it self-concept, self-esteem, self-confidence, or self-assurance, your beliefs about yourself are so powerful. I remember talking to Pete Rose, the baseball player, and I asked him, when you go up to bat, how often do you expect to get a hit? Now in baseball, if you hit 3 out of 10, you're batting 300. That's pretty good, right? He said, every single time I expect to get a hit. He said, if I didn't expect to get a hit, I shouldn't be up there, right? So expectation and no doubt and belief is critical. And I'm going to suggest to you a term that you think about for your life called become an inverse paranoid. Now, do you all know what a paranoid is? A paranoid is someone who thinks the world's plotting to do them harm, right? The world's out to get me. An inverse paranoid believes the world is out to do you good. It believes in a beneficent universe. It says the world's a friendly place. It's a place that's on my side. It's looking out for me. And so we want to have this positive belief that anything is possible. And it's simply a choice. I was working in New York with some real estate agents during the subprime, crisis that was facing America. And I asked him, there was one guy, he was doing 400% better than everyone else in a down market. And I said, how do you do this? I said, what kind of thoughts do you think when this is going on? He says, oh, I just tell myself I make money no matter what the market's doing. That's his belief. And because he believes it, he creates it. Now you might say, well, he believes it because he did it. And I'm telling you, he did it because he believes it. See? And so the reality is we can create anything we want if we believe in it. Now, my favorite story that illustrates this is about a guy, he's an Australian. He just died a couple years ago. His name was Cliff Young. And in 1983, when he was 61 years old, he showed up at a race. It's the Sydney to Melbourne race. It's 875 kilometers. That's about 650 miles. And it's normally a 6.5-day race. And most of the people that run this, it's considered one of the hardest endurance races or ultra marathons you can possibly do. And most people that run this are like 30 or younger. And he shows up to a field of 120 runners, and he's 61, and he's wearing Oshkosh overalls. He's got on construction boots with galoshes on top of them because it might rain, and he's wearing a baseball cap. Everyone else is wearing Nike, Puma, Asics running gear. They're all ready to go. And they said, sir, you can't run this race. You'll have a heart attack. We've never heard of you. Have you ever run a marathon before? No. Have you ever run a 10K? No. Well, what makes you think you can do this? He said, well, I'm a farmer. And we have a 2,000-acre farm. I have 2,000 sheep. And up until 2 years ago, we never had any farm equipment because we couldn't afford it. And when a storm was becoming, I would go out with my dog and we would herd up 2,000 sheep. Sometimes it would take us 2 or 3 days to get them all into a safe place, and I never slept. So I think I can do this. Well, they didn't take him very seriously, but they decided to let him run. They thought he'd probably drop out after the first day and they didn't care about it too much. And the first day, everyone takes off. And, boom, the gun goes off and everyone's running real fast. And here's Cliff. What happened was he was way behind. And the first day, everyone went to sleep and, he was still running and they woke up and they started running. He was way behind. But see, Cliff had an advantage that nobody knew about. The advantage was he'd never read a book about running. He'd never read Runner's World magazine. He'd never talked to an elite runner, never talked to a coach. He didn't know that when you do this kind of race, you're supposed to run for 18 hours, sleep for 6. Run for 18, sleep for 6. So when everyone went to bed, he was so far behind, no one was there to tell him to go to bed. So he just kept on running. He ran nonstop for 5.5 days and broke the record by 9 hours. So sometimes your belief about what you think is true is the thing that's keeping you stuck. Nobody thought anyone could break the 4-minute mile until Roger Bannister did it. And then the next year, 11 people did it. Now they knew it was possible. And so I want you to take the position that anything is possible. There's a wonderful quote that says, never tell anyone something cannot be done. God may have been waiting for centuries for somebody ignorant enough of the impossible to do that very thing. So think about it. You may be that person. That person could be you. Starting today, you could do anything you want in your life. Kelly Perkins, a woman who had a heart transplant. and has climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Fuji, Mount Whitney after her heart transplant. Everyone said it was impossible, can't be done. Jean-Dominique Bauby, but here's a guy who was paralyzed in his whole body. All he could do was blink one eye, and yet he had a secretary come in. She would bring in a chart of all the letters in the alphabet, and she'd start pointing to them one at a time, and when you get to the one he wanted to type, he would blink an eye. He wrote an entire book that way. 2 paragraphs a day. 2 paragraphs a day. He'd compose all night and then blink, 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 blink all day long. And yet he wrote a best-selling book. So even with all of that, he was able to believe he could still make a contribution by sharing his inner journey with the world. And there needs to be no excuses. If you believe you can do it, you can do it.